What's up? Breaking news on the Seahawks front. Brandon Browner has signed a one-year deal with the Seahawks. So one of the original members of the LOB, Legion of Boom, is coming back to Seattle. Now, here's my take on that. My initial reaction is, "Oh, that's cool, bringing the band back together." Uh, Browner, as you may recall from that excruciating Super Bowl game against the Patriots, he was on the Patriots, and to me, he was the key in causing that interception by Malcolm Butler at the goal line, by basically uh, checking Curse at the line and preventing him from being able to get in the way of Butler and giving Ricardo Lockett a chance to catch that ball. So Browner, as one of his strengths, has always been press coverage and physicality at line of scrimmage because he's tall, big, and long. And so I like that prospect. Now, on the flip side of this is that apparently last year he played with the Saints and he injured his MCL during the preseason. So that is his reason for why he wasn't as productive last year, because he basically a little bit gimpy through most of the season. I think he just played through it, never really addressed the issue that he had. But supposedly he's 100% back to form, which is a good sign. But if some of you recall, back even when he was still with the Seahawks, he had some issues with coverage downfield. So, he's going to have to do better than even last year with the MCL excuse. Even at 100%, when he was with the Hawks, he was still had some coverage issues. I remember particularly, I believe it was against the Titans game, where I got my green headband thing. He actually got taken out of the game because he was getting burned pretty badly. I believe that was the game that he actually got taken out for a few plays because he was not doing well in coverage. So maybe they'll mix him in, and maybe we're not looking at him to be the number one, full-time guy opposite Sherman. Maybe it'll be kind of a situational type of thing, or rotate him in. So I think if they use him right, I think that would be a pretty cool thing. Definitely just from a boost for the team. It's pretty exciting to think of having the part of the original LOB back together again. So we'll see how that plays out. But one-year deal. Have not seen anything about the amount of the deal. I can't imagine it would be that big considering the season he's coming off of. But something to keep an eye on during this off season as we go into the preseason. See if he can make the squad and make a difference. Wanted to talk a little bit about the Percy Harvin retirement. Speaking of former Seahawks, somebody had asked me what my thoughts were on that, and I have kind of mixed thoughts about Percy. A lot of people only remember how things badly ended inside the locker room and the issues he was causing, and how basically we gave up a whole ton of money and people consider him a bust. And I think if you look at volume of play of what he contributed, you could probably say that was the case. But I kind of tend to look at it a different way. And that is what he did for the little bit of time he was in there. And I'm looking at the 2013-2014 season where we did win our first Super Bowl. He had one pretty spectacular play against the Saints in the, was it the divisional round? And of course, many of the highlights of our Super Bowls will always live with and remember. And really some of the top highlights of Harvin's career will be what he did against the Broncos in the Super Bowl. And for me, just again, because that Super Bowl in New York with my dad watching that was one of the greatest, will always be one of the greatest moments of my life, especially as a Seahawks fan. But watching Percy in that jet sweep tearing up the Denver defense, and then of course the kick return that put the game out of reach and made the score 29-0. That but the price of admission just for that and to kind of ice the Super Bowl is good enough for me, because of the fact that it led to our Super Bowl win, and we'll always have that. Yeah, he was a cancer the following season, and we had to cut him loose, and basically whatever potential we were going to have with him was gone. We got what we needed and I think we got as much as we were going to get out of him. And the memories and the solidifying that win in the Super Bowl to me was worth it. And we've moved on since, and so has he, and obviously he's moved on from football. So I guess I look at it that way, that we paid a whole lot of money to basically secure the Super Bowl and have some pretty awesome highlights. Granted, probably a handful of them, but you know that was uh, that was worth it in my book, as far as that's concerned. So it's kind of a shame though if you look at him as in his career. He was at 20 retiring at I believe the age of 27. It's definitely short shorter than he could have had. Number one, because of the injuries, and then two, because of the attitude. Uh, that hip, which was the whole reason why he didn't play much for us during that time we had him, was always seemed to be a lingering, recurring injury problem. And for a guy whose his whole identity and strength is based on speed, to have a hip problem like that is a pretty major deal. So I guess it's kind of inevitable that if you're gonna have a chronic hip issue and speed is kind of what you're made of, it can be tough to make it through and continue to make an impact. So it's unfortunate for that, but it really worse is just the fact that from an attitude standpoint, he really burned a lot of bridges, and nobody. I mean, look at the guy's career. I mean, he hung out in the Vikings probably longer than he should have. Stayed with the Seahawks as long as as they allowed him to, which was more than barely over a season. And then he bounced from the Jets and bounced to the Bills. So it's too bad, but it just goes to show, that, injuries is one thing, but there are plenty of players who have been cancers on their team and divas with attitude. And it just goes to show that eventually that stuff catches up to you, and, you keep that act up too long, no matter how talented you are, eventually, it goes to bite you in the butt. So let that be a lesson to you youngsters out there. A little humility goes a long way. Okay. Anyway, that's it for the time being. Lots of stuff happening, so we'll keep checking in. Subscribe to NorbCam on YouTube for all the latest updates. Going to definitely keep things up to date as the draft is right around the corner. So lots of fun stuff coming, and yeah, it's going to be an exciting off season, and even more exciting season as we lead up to Super Bowl 51. All right. Take care. Talk to you guys soon. Go Hawks.